Jai Hind to all. Welcome back to my Python tutorial. And today I'll be continuing with the Society, Law and Ethics, the last chapter of your computer science book. The last topic that we have seen is the digital property rights. And as you all know, digital property rights is the rights of the owner, that is for the digital contents, who actually is the owner of that digital contents, to have any kind of, again, either the utilization of it, distribution of it, sharing of that contents. That is what the digital property rights. And threats to the digital property right that we'll talk today. There are many threats to this digital properties. Digital property, not the right. Now, digital properties are the contents of the information that in the digital form lying on in digital media, electronic gadgets, computer, internet. That's what the digital property is. Now, what kind of threats are there for digital property? That we'll talk one by one. First and foremost, digital software penetration tools are available in the market nowadays. There are different software, crackers, softwares, which can easily get the key of your software and can install it without your permission, or can be accessed. For example, you must have seen the pirated version of the OS. Even the early version of the Microsoft was easily can be cracked and can be installed on the computer without the notice or without knowledge of the Microsoft or owner of that software. That is what penetration tools are. So one of the risks that is lying, or that is for the digital properties, are there are different penetration tools available in the market in the form of crackers or key generator, which can generate easily, or which can let you know or guess you the key, original key of that software, and with the help of that you can install it in your computer. And second is stealing and plagiarism. Both can be there. Data can be, your code can be again stolen by someone and can be again used for some purpose without your notice. And plagiarism is another again issue where the people just simply try to learn something from some source or copy some code and again create the software by his own name. This two problem is there, either the penetration tool, which can easily again guess the key and can be used and can be misused, both you can say. And second is stealing the code or stealing or plagiarism codes of your digital content. These two problems are there. It means we have to protect these two things. Now let's see digital property right protections, how you can protect the digital property of yours. First and foremost, you must use some anti-tamper solutions that is available nowadays. Once we are recording the things in the CDs, there are tools, inbuilt tools that you can use so that hackers and crackers cannot easily tamper it, cannot guess it, cannot use it without your permissions. This is called anti-tamper solutions. And you're like a utility software or game software that you developed, once someone tried to hamper and tampered it, that anti-tampered solutions of your software will protect him to do the same. Second is legal clauses. You can use the legal clause, or you can apply the legal clause on your software that you develop or digital contents of yours, so that other cannot again misuse it, cannot again disturb, cannot again steal, and if they will do, then it will come under the legal clause, or you can go against of him. And third is limit the sharing of the data. Don't try to share the digital contents of you to anyone. If you are sharing the digital content with a limited again person, maybe limited websites, maybe the only one website, then chances are there will be no again disturbance, or there will be no again security loophole of your digital contents. So these are the three again preventive measures. Use the anti-tampering solutions that basically protect the contents, digital contents of others once someone try to again access it without your permissions and to whom you haven't given the permission. That is first and foremost. Second is legal clause can be applied so that your contents will becomes under the legal again like a clause, and if anyone try to violate it, there will be a problem. And third, as I mentioned, limits the sharing of the digital content. If I'm freely again accessing anyone to access my contents, if someone accessing, they have to register it. This is how to limit. I'm not again allowing anyone to access it. And if it will happen, then you may understand things may be not again in right shape, or digital contents will be completely may damage or disturb, or maybe you'll be loser. Now, open source terminology. The second point is open source terminology of philosophy or software licenses. Now, in your class 11th, you must have realized we have a Python, we have a MySQL in 12th class. Now, early we had a Java or maybe C++, maybe other language. The CBSE is also again focusing more on the open source software. Here, the open source software is very new for you guys. Open source software are the software which are very open to all. Which are very open to all means the software can be easily accessed, software can be easily copied, software can be easily distributed, software can be easily redistributed, software can be easily modified. If the source code of any software are available, then the software is called open source software. Keep that in mind. Like a Linux, like a MySQL, like your Python, these are the open source code programming language or the software. So what is open source software? The software which source code are very open to the users. These are called open source software. Open source software may be freely available also, can be easily accessed also. That is what do mean by open source software. Now there are two terms frequently we use, interchangeably we use open source software and free software. And there is some ambiguities also in it. Sometimes people confuse between the open source software and the free software. Now the free software are the software which are freely available in every sense. Open source software are freely available, or open source software, the software with source code is very open, you can copy, you can modify, you can use for own sake, but not maybe free. But the free software is always free to use, to copy, to distribute, to redistribute, to modify. So in every sense, free software are the free. Open source software may be free, may not be free. Sometimes the open source software can have some again price attached with for the just again invention, for the latest development, and for just again as a contributions. So you may say the open source software is not completely free, but free software is free in every sense. So this is the two different, free software and open source software. You must have a clear concept. Free software are the software which are free in every sense. Here every sense means there is no cost, hidden cost, or any cost attached with this software. But once it is open source software, it's equivalent to the free software, except that there may be charges, there may be a money, there may be a price attached with this open source software. Now, some of the again like a philosophy of the open source software. One by one, I'll just again explain, try to listen carefully. Open source software are free again redistribution, or simply you can say there is no restrictions on the open source software. You can use it either the whole or in a part, it's up to you. Source code of the open source software are open, you can easily get it. You can modify it, derive works, even you can just create some software out of the open source software and you can again sell it out, or you can distribute it, even if charge for that software with your name. No one can restrict you. Integrity of the author's source code, but mind it, in the case of open source software, the original software owners or the version of that should be always intact. You may modify it, you may give some other version name, but that doesn't mean the original version of the software is no more. That will be of course there, and with the latest version you can distribute, or you can sell it out, or you can use it. No discrimination against the persons or groups. Mind it, This open source software never for any particular community, or never differentiate the community, never disintegrate the community, and it's for all. So anyone can use it. No discriminations against the fields of endeavor means anyone who are making use of the program of open source software or for any purpose is using are free to, there is no restrictions on it. Distribution of the license, you can distribute the license of the software with your name after getting the open source software. Version new name you can give, but you can also again distribute it with your new license. That is also possible. And license must not be specified specific to a product, and there is no specific license. Without license, open source software can be used. It means these are some of the freedoms that we have on open source software. What you have realized, or what you got here, open source software are free to use. Anytime you can use, many times you can use. You can copy it, you can modify it, you can distribute the modified version of it, you can redistribute it, you can sell with your license, your name, and you can use without it. These are the certain freedoms we have on open source software. License must not restrict other software. Mind it, this open source softwares never says you have to use all software as an open. It's if you have one open source software using, other licensing software using, there is no problem. You can use it and continually keep on using. License must be technology neutral. This means any platform, if you want to use the open source software, it is applicable. So hardly bother which platform, which OS, which environment you're working, all environment is supported by the open source software. Now, something is called FLOSS or FOSS, free open source software. The software which are free and open both comes with the tag FOSS, F-O-S-S, free and open source software. Just for definition's sake, you can remember the FOSS is a software which are free as well as open. Now, some of the definitions, these are there in your book. OSS, open source software, or you may say FLOSS, free library, L-I-B-R-E, or there are two names, L-I-B-R-E or L-I-B-R-E. You can use the both spelling. One is a Spanish and one is a Portuguese. Meaning is same. It's a free library, open source software. This is what either you can say open source software which source code is very open, comes under the FLOSS category or OSS category. GNU. GNU comes under the general public license. Now GNU is basically, once you are writing the GNU, you have to write the GNU in the capital, and then after that you say not Unix. GNU not Unix. There was a demand of Unix. Once upon a time it was too much in demand and it was too costly. That time the people start thinking some alternative of the Unix, and this GNU concept has been again coined or has been derived, where people got the similar software like a Unix, but mind it, not a Unix, because it was a free. That is GNU license, general public license. That is what GNU is. FSF, Free Software Foundation. It's organizations who basically involved in developing of the free software. That's called Free Software Foundation. And mind it, Richard Stallman was basically the owner or initiative taker of this Free Software Foundation. We have OSI, Open Source Initiatives. Again, it's organizations who basically takes all initiatives to develop the open source software. That's called OSI, Open Source Initiatives. And freeware are the software which are freely accessible to use, mind it, to copy. But the source code you can't modify. Source code is not available here, but you can easily or freely use it. So if you search the freeware software on your Google, it will give you all software that you can use it freely without any restrictions, but you cannot modify it. You cannot again know about the source code. W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. This W3C is basically a standard that World Wide Web follows for any kind of standard, again, like a development, any kind of changes in www. Then we have a proprietary software. Proprietary software is a software which is not for the public, which is not open, which is of a particular vendor, and which is where the owner is an individual person, and he have all right to decide to whom he want to sell, to whom he to sell, what price he want to again have of that product. That's what's called a proprietary. Like the Microsoft Windows OS comes under the proprietary software. You cannot ask freely, and it's not freely available at all. Even after so many years of the Microsoft OS, 25 years, more than 25 years Microsoft has spent, still Microsoft is charging for the OS since it's a proprietary software. Shareware, the software that can be shared easily on the net, mind it, for a particular time interval. After that, for example, any antivirus software you are using, for 30-day trial you can, and after 30 days, once that trial period over, you have to again pay for it and you have to install it. Furthermore, you can't use. That's what's called a shareware. And then we have a copylefted software. This copylefted software is the software that is a free software whose distributions terms ensure that all the copies of that software have the same again license what the original software having. So you may not be the owner of it, of this copylefted software, more or less same distribution terms are there that was there with the original software. That's what's called copylefted software. So these are the certain again terms we have in these chapters, and after that we have a different kind of license that is again attached with this software, free software, open source software. We will see this all license like maybe the Creative Commons license, CC license, or maybe Apache license, or maybe GNU license, public license. This I'll discuss in the next again video of mine. So kindly take care about you, kindly watch this video, like it, subscribe it, make a note out of it, and if you have any confusions, let me know about it. Thank you all.